yet. We are live. The ticker's going. Here we are. Yeah. Well, we're not going to do the intro just yet. We're just waiting for a few people to join, and then we can go into this week. Are you going to be able to share? So, thank you, darling. Got my lovely wife doing some of the sharing on there, so people can see us and get involved. Normally give it about a minute on this end. So if you are tuned in already, we'll be doing an intro very shortly, just to make sure we got enough people to join, say hello. This is the Dadless Soul Deep Dive. And yeah, time is ticking away. Okay, we've got some viewers coming in now. Thank you for joining us. We haven't done the intro just yet. We're going to give it another 10 seconds or so. And then we're ready to roll. 3, 2, 1. Hello, right. Welcome to the Dadless Soul Deep Dive with me, Mark Cropley. Thank you for joining us again if you're out there. So this week I am joined by Brittany Logsdon, baby massage and early years expert. Hello, Brittany.
Hello.
Hello. Thank you for joining us. Nice for you to be here today. So, yeah, Brittany supports families in creating magical relationships with their babies and children. She teaches baby massage, baby yoga, developmental play, and provides parental support. And I can say firsthand, I've been along to one of Brittany's groups with my little son Reggie, and we had a great time and learnt some good things. So I really want to, give you guys some good tips and advice, and talk about things how to deal with baby in these stressful times. So how are you finding it, Brittany, during this lockdown period?
I definitely think in the beginning, just trying to find a balance between both my work and my husband working and taking care of our son was a big challenge. We seem to have found a good rhythm now, but it definitely took time. And, there's always that level of guilt, I think probably a lot of parents feel of when your children are at home and you're busy, doing other things. You always have a feeling of, oh, I should be with my child, or I don't want them to see me constantly working, or these other things that, parents often feel guilty about. But unfortunately, in times like these, everyone's in a similar situation, and, you have to do what you have to do.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, I think everyone's just been forced into this kind of really weird situation that none of us expected to be in. And, I suppose for you, I mean, how's that affected what you do? Because what you do, and a bit like what we do at Dadless Soul, is quite hands-on with the group. So have you managed to change to sort of more online delivery?
Yeah, so I teach my classes online now. We do it like via Zoom, so everyone can see me and I can still see them. So it's still interactive, which is nice. And at the end, we always have time to chat as well. So just like in my classes where we talk at the end and you kind of have a chance to meet other parents, we still do that online. It's not exactly the same. We don't get to, have the same, it's not the exact same type of interaction, but it's still definitely nice to see other parents and talk to other parents and have that time to connect, similar to what you're kind of creating as well.
And how are you finding actually talking to other parents online there? How are you finding their feeling about this period of lockdown and how it's affecting them and the way they interact with their children?
I think one of the main things is they're just feeling quite isolated and alone. So if they come up across an issue, there's less people to go to seek support, for example. So they can't visit parents who can help, or family members, or come to classes like mine. Although it's nice that I do have the online class, so some people do join in. But some people also don't feel comfortable on that platform, and which is tricky for them as well. So I think although we're offering online classes, sometimes, not everyone feels comfortable using that kind of system. But also just, especially with new babies, it takes, as they say, a village to raise a child. So it can be very isolating and lonely.
Yeah, I mean, I certainly feel for us as a family, we've, and I certainly think it affects my wife more than it does me, because I'm out and about working. But, she was very reliant on her parents who lived just down the road, and it was very easy to say, Mum, can you look after the kids for a bit? Or, I'm having a stressful day, let's take some time out. And she's kind of lost that support network, because although she sees her mum and goes down there and takes her shopping and what have you, but they can't make physical contact. They're actually now isolating. They've been told to isolate due to medical reasons till the end of June. And I think a lot of parents are gonna feel like that. We've got so people that have watched this before, we've got 3 slightly older children, and we got our youngest Reggie, who's 6 months old. So it's kind of been a challenge. Yes, we've been there before, and we've kind of done it with the other children, but actually it's quite a lot of pressure on parents to try and perform on your own when you've been used to that support network.
Oh yeah, definitely. And I think too, I have, some parents who have just become parents, so they have very new babies and everything is brand new, and they don't have that same support system. So it can be quite overwhelming, and you question everything, don't you, as a new parent?
Yeah.
If you're doing the right thing, or if you're making mistakes, although everyone makes mistakes, but it's just part of being a parent.
It is, yeah. And I think some of the things as well, and there's lots of good advice online, but sometimes trying to break through that good advice and trying to find the advice you need is the hardest thing. So actually sometimes talking to people, and there's lots of great online groups. Obviously you've got yourself, and we've got for our Dad and Soul closed group, so we have people come on there and say, I'm having an issue with this. Normally there's plenty of people to jump on there to try and help and offer advice. I think majority of the time I find it's quite useful. I know there's the mums support groups as well out there, and that was, I suppose that was one of the reasons why Dadly Soul was created, actually, because there wasn't anywhere for the dads to come along and speak out like that and ask those questions. It's not always seen as a manly thing to do, is it, to ask for help?
Yeah, no, definitely. I think it's great, and I think it just shows that a lot of dads do want to have support and also do more with their children, and it's so wonderful to see that. And it's nice that it's becoming it's more acceptable, I guess, now than it used to be.
Definitely so. I think it's more acceptable, and also dads just want to do it. They want to be involved with their children. I certainly felt this time around. I mean, when my other children were younger, so I got a 12, 10 and an 8-year-old, I was working quite a lot. I wasn't really present there all the time, and I only really see them when they were sleeping, certainly for the first few years of their life, and I felt really guilty about that. Now with Reggie, I really want to be part of his life, and that was one of the reasons I came along to your baby group, and I think I wouldn't have had the guts to do that before, and that's I suppose me opening out my emotional range, and I think many dads want to do the same sort of thing.
Yeah, definitely.
But anyway, thank you for joining us. People who have joined us already, come and say hello. We're ready to field some questions. We're going to go through some practical advice as well. So you're here with the Dadly Soul Deep Dive. I'm here with Brittany. We're talking about creating magical moments with baby. If you are listening and you are watching, which I know you are, please hit the share button. Hit share, let other people know we're here. It really helps, actually, to let other people see what's going on, and let the algorithms in Facebook promote this. So please do hit the share button, get involved, and comment on it. So we wanted to kind of go into some practical side of it, of dealing with baby, and like many of us, babies go through cycles. So actually at the moment, Reggie is just over 6 months old, and he's going through a teething period, and you find one thing works and then it stops working, and then you have to try something else. One of the ones, and actually I have my practical baby here, which, hello, his pants have fallen off. So and he's got a bit of a broken leg. So this is one of the boys' babies. But one of the techniques, and I'm sure you'll show this better, that you taught at your group, was to lay baby down flat like this, support the head. Hope I'm doing it right, but it worked. Now this worked really well with Reggie a few months ago, and it actually quietened him down. But now he just wants to keep turning around and coming up this way. So yeah, let's. I mean, I'll let you take the lead on this. What kind of things can we do to settle our baby when they're feeling unsettled?
So one of the things that I always teach is first taking just a moment to connect with your baby. So it's really easy, especially when our babies are crying, to start feeling that stress and our heart rate increasing, and we just want our baby to stop crying. And it's a natural instinct, of course, because when we hear our baby crying, it tells us that, oh, there's something wrong. We need to help our baby. So it's a survival instinct that we start feeling that stress response. But we have to, of course, realize that it's not always urgent, or it's not always a life or death situation anymore. We're not, we're not living back in caveman times, but we still get those responses. So it's about taking time to pause and just be with your baby before. So for example, if your baby's upset and crying and everything's fine, so they're not hungry, they've had a nappy change, all those needs have been met. Sometimes they just need time to be with you and to connect with you. So it's a bit hard to show. What I'm going to do is just do this so you can see my baby. So it's a nice thing to do there. I'll show you two ways. One way is, it's called hands to heart. So you place your hands firmly on your baby's chest. So you don't want it really light where it's just kind of touching the skin. You want to actually put a bit of pressure, but not so much that it's causing any discomfort. Now, this on its own can cause them to feel much more connected and relaxed. So when you start doing this, you try and make eye contact with them, taking nice deep breaths. You can say their name. And the key here is that you want to take those deep, slow breaths. So as you do that, you're going to calm down and relax, and your baby's going to see that in you and help them relax as well. So it's a really easy, simple way. And you don't only have to do this when they're upset. This can be any time you want to just take a moment to connect with your baby. It doesn't take it doesn't take a lot of effort. You don't have to think about a game to play. Just a nice, simple moment. So what I like to say in class is you create that love bubble around you and your baby. So if you imagine when you're doing this with your baby, you kind of create this bubble around the two of you where it's just time for you guys to be together for a few moments and just take that time to connect. So that's one really nice way. Another way, I'm going to come back up now. So these are two ways that are more just like moments that you can just take if you need to just connect. So it's so easy to feel disconnected sometimes to our children when we're so stressed and our mind is everywhere else, especially now when there's so much to think about. So it's nice to do these two holds or ways of connecting, just even for a couple minutes a day. And if you just think, oh, you know what, it's been like, if half the day's gone and I don't feel like I've actually had any time with my baby. So the next one is you hold them nice and close, just as you would giving them a cuddle.
I love a go.
Yeah. The difference is, instead of just giving a cuddle, I like to call it a mindful cuddle. So you want to be completely present. So again, taking those nice, deep, slow breaths to calm your heart rate down and to slow your breathing. And that's going to help you relax, and your baby's going to feel that. So it's going to help them relax. And then on top of that, just seeing if you can feel their heartbeat, seeing if you can feel the warmth of their body. Maybe you can feel their breath on your skin. And then as you do that, your baby's feeling those same things from you. So they're feeling your heartbeat, they're feeling your body temperature, they're feeling your breath. So it's taking a moment to kind of become one together. Of course, if baby's like not in the mood for it, it's not going to necessarily work if they want to be moving around and, depending on the age. But it doesn't, again, you don't have to think of a song to sing. You don't have to think of a game. It's just a nice way to just take a moment to connect. So those are two really easy, simple ways to take a moment to connect with your baby. And when you're feeling stressed, especially. Now, I
have to say, I'm feeling less stressed even holding this one here. Actually, it's quite nice.
It's like, oh, this is nice.
Yeah, I'm feeling quite, and it doesn't move around as much as Reggie does. He kind of does that thing where he goes over like this. But yeah, I could sit here for a while.
Yeah, exactly. And I think too, because we'll hold our babies a lot, but we're not necessarily always paying attention to how they feel and how we feel while we're doing it, because that's just life. We don't always have the time to do that. So just taking the moment to consciously hold them in a mindful way can make such a big difference. And then basically what happens when we have that comforting, loving touch is oxytocin is released. So that's why you start to feel calmer and more relaxed. So oxytocin is the love hormone, and it's kind of what makes your body say, oh, it's okay to just relax and feel happy. So when we touch our babies in that loving, gentle way, oxytocin is released in our bodies, but it's also released in our baby's bodies. So it helps them to feel more relaxed as well. So that's kind of the science behind why it helps you feel better.
It's amazing actually how babies are so tuned in to you as parents. Actually, I think we can sense stress from each other, can't we? And I think if you're feeling stressed, it just kind of snowballs. And even the kids, if you've got kids and a baby in a house, that stress can just snowball. And sometimes, being mindful, being present, taking that breath and just stopping can actually help calm the whole situation down. And, even holding the toy one here, I can just kind of calm down for a bit.
Exactly.
Is this something that dads can do as well? Because obviously sometimes as a dad, we feel disconnected, especially if a baby's breastfeeding. During those certainly early periods, how is those techniques you've just explained the best way that dad can connect with baby too during those periods, or is there other things we can do too?
Yeah, so those two are really good for dads because it kind of takes away the feeding element as we were talking about, and also you're still having that close contact with them that moms tend to get a bit more of just because of the nature of having a newborn or a young baby. But yeah, it gives you that same closeness. And what you can do actually to increase it is do skin to skin. So if you take your baby's top off and yours as well, or unbutton your shirt and do that same hold, but skin to skin or chest to chest, it then makes it even more powerful and helps you connect even more. So that's a way to kind of increase it if you have the time and the if you're in a private space and you feel comfortable doing it. And I don't think dads should feel uncomfortable doing skin to skin, because I think, in our society, people might feel if they were raised with hearing certain viewpoints about how men should behave and all of these other things. It's just as important for babies to have that close skin to skin contact with their dads as with their moms. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with it. If anything, it's actually so good for them, and it's so good for you as well. And it helps you bond and connect with them. And it teaches them that you're someone that they can also trust and rely on, and that you'll find you'll be able to settle them easier as time goes on if you practice these things, because they start to trust you more and they start to know that you're a reliable person in their life.
Yeah, that's definitely something I found, actually being more present and using those techniques. Is actually Reggie now, can come to me, and we haven't gone through the stage yet where he doesn't want to not be with his mother. Sometimes you kind of take him away and he's like, no, we haven't had that with him actually. So maybe some of those techniques, some of that bonding stuff that we've done is really helping there. What about, we talked about earlier on about, putting the baby down, putting the hands on the chest and calming them down. I mean, what are sort of next techniques onto there if baby's really trying to, hard to settle? Everything's right, they're fed, they're watered, but maybe they're just teething and feeling really unsettled. What's the next stage of settling them down?
So I'll show the hold that you were mentioning. So it's called Tiger in the Tree. So if you can imagine like a tiger lazing on a branch in a tree. So how we do that one, we take an arm and we come across the front of the body, and you can kind of support. And if you need extra support, you take your other hand between the legs and onto the belly. So with this one, you want to make sure that the airways are clear. So the face isn't, you're not blocking their nose or their mouth with your arm at all. And just making sure that they feel comfortable. So you don't want to, you just basically that their head is resting in a comfortable position on your arm, but they can still breathe. Okay, so this is really good. And for some reason, it's just very calming for babies. They really love it. And on top, so what you can do, you have them in your Tiger in the Tree hold. You can then also do, I'm trying to get a good angle here. Here we go. A little sway back and forth. That's really nice as well. So if you think of a baby, they've been inside a womb for 9 months, where they're constantly moving. They have this nice gentle motion all the time. So that's why these nice gentle motions where they feel contained. So again, they were contained in this tight little space. So that's why these kind of positions help them feel a bit calmer. So that's one that you can do. If they're a bit older, so you were saying now your son is starting to wriggle around a lot more, or
Yeah.
some babies really like to be facing out and see everything. Another one you can do, it's like the football hole, but facing down. So you take your arm, there we go, in front underneath the legs, and you take your hand and you support the head. So this is for older babies, so from 3 months and up. So I wouldn't do this with a baby under 3 months, just because if they don't necessarily have the proper head control yet. But you want to just place their hand, either their jaw kind of resting in your hand. So you don't want to squeeze, and you want to make sure that you're not actually holding the neck at all, because then that can restrict their breathing. So just having the face gently in this V shape in your hand here. And then they're facing forward, and you can do just a little up or down and up motion like this with your arm. It's going to be a workout.
Yeah.
Depending on how heavy they are. And you have your other hand just resting on their back here, so their back, so they feel safe, so they don't feel like they're going to fall, and it also makes you feel safer. And what else you can do is kind of to distract them. So they might be upset because they're just a bit bored, or they need to change the position, which is how this helps. The change in viewpoint and a change in position, it makes things a bit more exciting. You can walk over to the mirror, and you can hold them so they can see themselves in the mirror, and you can do the up and down in the mirror, so it adds even more fun. You can walk around the house and talk to other people, so you can go and say, oh, let's say hi to mommy, let's go over here and say this. You can look out the window and see what you can see out the window. So it's really nice for older babies who are needing a bit more interaction in terms of moving around and seeing things and talking about things. And so that one's there. That's another one.
That's one I'm going to try, actually, because so the tiger in the tree one, it sometimes works now. I mean, after I came home from doing your class, I sort of, he was crying, and Sophie was doing lots of other things like she does, and I just picked him up and put him like this, and he instantly stopped crying. And I rocked him about. And I know a comment just popped up there from the lovely Janice saying, she used that technique for her baby, and when he had colic. So I think it's a very relaxing technique for baby. I quite like the idea of doing this one now. Actually, I think that's going to work quite well for.
When he's older, yeah, definitely. And just remembering, if you're watching, that this one here, the facing forward, that's for 3 months and up. So just remember that one. The tiger in the tree you can do from birth. This 3 months.
And the other thing I remember, and I did use as well from the tiger in the tree, was and it's a bit adds into exercise as well. You were saying for arm exercises, but it was doing squats as well. That seemed to work, kind of jumping up and down.
It works, and it's funny because you would often we think of babies and their startle reflex. So if they feel like they're being dropped, they kind of startle. But for some reason, if you hold them close and do it, it's kind of hard for me to show you, but if you kind of imagine that I'm squatting, so you get in a comfortable position, and then you can just squat down. So this is for older babies, you can have them facing out, you just squat down. For younger ones, you have them close to you, supporting their head, and again, you can squat down. Or even more so, they can lie like this, and you can squat down like this. And actually, this is the way my son preferred, is lying kind of flat with his head supported. And that really helped. So sometimes that was the only thing that would stop him from crying. So that's another really good one that helps. It's and again, it's a workout. So you get some work, you get an exercise as well while you're doing it.
And actually, that's good, because we know exercise, mental health are very well connected, especially in these times. And actually, if we can take a bit of time out and a bit of me time with baby, and have a bit of mindfulness, and then we can use baby for a bit of exercise on top of that as well. Oh, I see the time coming. The cat wants to join in with the live stream. Yeah, we got 2 strange babies and a cat. So yeah, there's some really good stuff there, and I have used that myself, and I can recommend to mums, dads, anyone that's watching to do that. If you are out there watching, you're listening to the Dad of Soul Deep Dive here live on Facebook and YouTube. I'm here with Brittany Logsdon, and we're talking about baby massage, and she's an early baby massage and early years expert. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Great. Okay. And if you haven't already, if you could hit the share button to let other people know we're here, that would be really helpful. Thank you very much. And please do join in the conversation. I know, this is quite a niche topic tonight, but we feel that, parents of younger children can often get overlooked and they're losing their support network. So, if there's something you want to know, if there's an issue you're having trouble with at the moment, please do let us know, and we can try and answer some of those questions. So another thing I want to bring up, when we went on the on your course as well, we were talking about other things that you could do with the baby. So we talked about some massage techniques, even some singing and some games as well. So can we go through some of those? And please don't get me to sing live on Facebook.
So where I'll do the singing. Yes, we can. So let me see what I was. Yes, so we can do, I'm going to show you Grand Old Duke of York. So a lot of people know that nursery rhyme. It's quite popular, but I'm going to show you a game we can play with it that is fun for baby, but it also helps with their digestion. It helps relieve wind pain. So it's really good, especially, so the reason babies get a lot of wind and things like that is their digestive system isn't fully developed yet. So it just helps move everything along, and which a lot of parents, find that their babies suffer with that. So my fireplace in the background. Here we go.
No worries.
So what we do for this, anytime you're going to be manipulating a baby's body, I guess you can say, moving it for them, you always want to make sure that you're not pressing. So you're not pushing further than they naturally feel they can go. So if you feel that they're stopping here, don't force it to go further. Every baby's going to be different. And if the more you do it, then soon they're going to be able to have their knees come up further. So you just make sure that you're not forcing the movement in any way. So you just gently take the ankles or the feet and you start this marching motion. So one knee up and then the other. Can you see okay? Is that?
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, it's coming across really well.
And then we're going to sing the Grand Old Duke of York. And don't worry, you don't have to sing. I can do the singing. Oh, the Grand Old Duke of York, he had 10,000 men. He marched them up to the top of the hill and he marched them down again. And now we're going to put both knees up. And when they were up, they were up. And when they were down, they were down. And when they were only halfway up, they were neither up nor down. Really simple, easy. It's a nursery rhyme a lot of people know. Also, with it, you want to go nice and slow. So if you go too fast with a young baby, they might find it a bit overwhelming, but also in terms of digestion, it's better to go a bit slower. So that's a nice one. And since I already have my camera pointing at this angle, I'm going to show you another one for digestion. So this one, the key thing to remember here is you always want to go in a clockwise position. So with your right hand, you come onto the opposite hip, so the left side hip, okay? And then you draw a circle around that belly, coming underneath the rib cage all the way around down towards the pelvis. So you're drawing a nice big circle in a clockwise position, always clockwise, because if we go the other way, we're actually doing the opposite of what we want. We're pushing everything back in.
Right.
So we do that clockwise circle on the tummy, and then we can sing You Are My Sunshine. You are my sunshine, my only sunshine. You make me happy when skies are gray. You'll never know, dear, how much I love you. Please don't take my sunshine away. Good. And again, with this one, always remember if they're really upset and they seem like they're not enjoying it, we want to stop. So we want to always respect our baby's wishes and how they're feeling whenever it comes to anything like massage or movements with their body. Because if you can imagine as an adult, someone massaging you when you don't want to be massaged, it would be a really uncomfortable feeling. So we want our babies to trust us and know that if they don't want a massage, that we're going to respect that. So those are two easy ones that you can do for helping with digestion, but they're also just fun, and you can sing with them. And babies don't care what you sound like, so just sing. They don't mind if you're really good at singing or not. They just love to hear your voice, and they love to just have that time together. So never worry about how your singing voice sounds.
No, I always actually, and probably more in private, so people don't hear so much. I kind of like sing to Reggie. I found some, I don't know, it's almost like singing in an Irish folk manner, without the accent seems to work with him. I'll just make up some random songs, and he seems to just go quiet, and then you feel you have to do more and more and more of it. It's really strange. But I was doing it with him once in the living room, and the neighbour came to the door as well, and he kind of commented on the singing, so it was quite embarrassing. I don't know if this is one that you would teach or recommend, actually, but one we found with Reggie, with the grand old Duke of York, actually, and maybe now he's bigger, not with a little child, is we sort of do this with him. So when they were up, and when they were down.
Yeah. So if you want to kind of do it in a different way, yeah, you can lift them up in the air as well. And as they get older, they really love those kind of games where they're going up into the air and down and side to side. I can show you another lap game in a moment, actually. I'm just going to answer this question quickly because it's important. So,
yeah.
Please, you shouldn't use essential oils when doing baby massage. So if you want to use any oils while doing some sort of massage on your baby, it should be like a natural oil. So the one that in the baby massage world that we usually recommend is either a cold pressed organic sunflower oil or coconut oil. So coconut oil is easier to get. A cold pressed sunflower oil, you have to go to more specialty shops to get, but you can also get it on Amazon. Or you can find a retailer who sells a baby massage oil. The thing is, you just have to check the ingredients first, because sometimes they'll label it as a baby massage oil, but it will have essential oils in it or other things like that, which we want to avoid for a few reasons. So one, it can irritate their skin. They might have an allergic reaction to it. But also, if you're massaging their hands, for example, or things like that, they can ingest the essential oils, which can be dangerous as well.
Right. Okay, great advice there. Thanks, Brittany. Thanks, Janice, for asking the question. That's a really helpful thing to know. So thank you.
No problem.
Carry on.
Yeah, singing. I was going to go back to singing. Yes, the singing is so wonderful to do with your baby. So as you were saying, you notice that Reggie really responds to it. So babies do respond to singing. Not only singing, but if we talk in a sing-song way. So, there's this, it's called parentese. So we automatically, when we see a little baby, our voice gets higher. And
yeah.
Oh, you're so cute. Do-do-do. And we just do it without thinking. And that's because babies respond to it. And it's the same with singing. There's that nice rhythmic flow, and your voice tends to sometimes be a bit higher, and babies really respond to that. So yeah, singing is a wonderful way to help settle babies. Hence why lullabies it's like the age-old trick of helping a baby calm down and go to sleep is singing a lullaby.
And it doesn't really matter what you sing, and that goes back. I've just been laying next to him, in our bed, trying to get him to sleep, and I think for some reason no songs come to me, and I just start making up words. It could be I was walking down the street and fell over. I don't know, anything. It doesn't really matter what the content of the words are. It's the melody, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. And I'm the same. Like I do this for work, and at the end of the day, and I'm tired, I'm like, I can't think of a song, and I sing them all the time. So.
You could just sing out the shopping list for tomorrow, couldn't you, or something?
Yeah, and so that actually gets me onto a good point. So there's kind of, if you think of having your 5 a day with your baby is ways that you can bond and connect. So one is that loving touch, which you can do through those holds that I showed you. You could do through some games, as long as you kind of are having that actual physical contact with them. So that's your loving touch. The other one is eye contact. So talking to them and actually looking them in the eye. So that could be also when you're singing, for example, or during the hold I showed you with the hands on the chest, taking that and actually having that eye contact as well. The other one is talking or singing. So that's the third one.
Yeah.
And then the fourth one is your scent. So when you have that close skin to skin or that close contact, they can smell you and you can smell them. And it seems funny, but actually it does help them bond and connect with you. And they get to know that, oh, this is what daddy smells like. And that's a comforting scent for them. And it helps them feel calm and relaxed. And then oxytocin. So oxytocin is released when we do these things with our babies. So all of those things, those 5 a day, if we can think, okay, have I done these things in a day? Just like you would think, have I had enough of my fruits and vegetables today? Yeah. That's a nice way to think of it.
Yeah, no, that's really good actually. And I think, it's trying to stimulate them in different ways and bonding with them. And again, going back to what I said earlier, bonding with a baby, especially in the early years, is quite hard with for dads. I think a lot of them want to wait for them to be able to grow up and play football before they can bond with them. And that's really sad, because you miss out on an entire period of their life. And I think, if a lot more of us got involved, we could bond a lot better with baby, and actually it would make us feel better too, because there's benefits for dad too, there's benefits for parents as well as there is for the children as well.
Definitely, yeah. And I think I hear that a lot actually, about people feeling like they can't that a baby is boring, or they can't connect with their baby. And often that just comes from a place of not being used to it, like it's something that's maybe a bit uncomfortable because you haven't experienced it before. And that's like with anything. If anything is new to you, it's going to be a bit uncomfortable at first. So people sometimes feel like uncomfortable talking to a baby or singing to a baby because the baby doesn't talk back, for example.
Yeah.
But they are taking everything in. And even though they can't respond with words, they can respond with eye contact and smiles and cooing, and all of those things are the way that they communicate with you. So even though they can't talk back to you, they are still taking absolutely everything in. And they're learning from you, and they're learning that you are this, their caregiver who loves them and is there for them. So it might feel funny at first if you're not used to singing or talking to a baby, but if you just keep doing it, you'll start to also see your baby reacting, and then that will help you feel better, and also help you, it's exciting when your baby starts to get excited about you talking to them or you singing to them. It's a really wonderful feeling.
Yeah, I think that when you first start to get that, and you're talking about cooing and that reaction, that's when you really start to interact with your baby. Whereas in the early time, they might just look at you and stare at you blankly and wonder who you are. But that time is really important to them. And I think, especially if there's new parents watching this now, watching it back, it can be really tough. I remember coming home with our first baby, and in the middle of the night coming downstairs and going, what do we do? Still crying. We've fed, napped, we've done everything. We just didn't know what to do. And I think, some of the techniques we've just looked at now would really help with that, really help settle, because sometimes there is nothing wrong with baby.
Yeah. And sometimes even if you use all the techniques, they might still cry. So that's very common, and it's usually in the evening. So you can, you might hear about the witching hour, for example. So what if we think about a baby, when a baby's born, everything they're experiencing is brand new to them. So things that we don't even notice anymore, like a sound in the house that we've gotten used to, or a smell, the smell of the house, or how bright the lights are, things that we might not even think about, as really everything is new to a baby, and they're getting all of this sensory input. So they can get to the end of the day and they just feel overstimulated. And that's when that crying can happen, and nothing seems to settle them. So sometimes they do just need that release of emotion and tension. So just like adults, if you're overwhelmed, you're tense, you're stressed, if you cry, you do feel better after. So it's the same with the baby, even though it can be really hard on the parents, very hard on the parents. It's stressful. Like I was saying, that instinct where you start getting stressed and you're worried about your baby, and it sets that stress reaction off in us. But what can then happen too is that we then are stressed and we're holding them, and we're, our heartbeat is racing, and we're, and then that does it, it passes back to them. So it's almost like a back and forth reaction.
Yeah. Yeah. But you need to break that.
Yeah, yeah. So there's a few things. So if your baby, and you've tried everything, and you've even, you've tried some of these techniques, and they're still not settling, it's very likely they're overstimulated. And so the best thing to do in that time is remove as much stimulus as possible. So even bouncing. So sometimes that's, the natural thing we'll do. If a baby's crying, oh, it's okay, it's okay, which often will work if it's, if they're not overstimulated. So if they're overstimulated, just holding them close in that mindful way I was talking about in the beginning, dimming all the lights, turning off any noise, music, anything. If you're in a house with lots of people, going into a separate room, closing the door, trying to make it as quiet as possible. Sometimes you might have to turn the lights completely off, and then just either hold them mindfully and let them cry, or if you need to, you can place them down in a safe spot, because sometimes it can be so overwhelming that actually you do need to put them down for your own sanity, which is fine. Don't feel guilty about that, because every parent has to do that at some point. So do not feel guilty if you have to put your baby down when they're crying, and take a moment for yourself. It's better to do that than continue to feel so overwhelmed, and then it just makes the whole situation harder. So you can either hold them mindfully or put them down in a safe spot, say in their cot or something like that, but still stay nearby, and then come back to them when you're feeling a bit calmer. So of course you don't want to leave them for an extended period of time, but a minute or two to just, step away for a moment, take some nice deep breaths, kind of recoup, and then go back to your baby and try again. So
we found that really important, actually. He's got his space, he can go back to in his cot, and we, especially in the summer now, we've put some proper blackout blinds in there, and actually, kind of put him down, put his little music box on, and actually, I don't know if you've used this, but we had a white noise machine as well, which actually really settled in.
I find the white noise machine helps, and again, it's that it mimics the sound that they hear when they're in the womb. So again, it's that like what they used to hearing for 9 months. So yeah, white noise can help, and it also helps to kind of block out some of the other sounds. I never used one, but I know a lot of people swear by them and think so. Yeah, definitely. If your baby likes like a white noise, for example, that's something else. Yeah.
Janice just saying there that her mum said the baby needs to hear the sound of his own voice.
Yeah. Well, it's true. And if you think, I like that. That's a good. If you think that a baby's way of communicating, their main way of communicating in the early months is crying. So that's their way of communicating. So when we look at little babies, they're not manipulating you. Their brain literally does not have the capacity to do that. So their frontal lobes, or their cortex in the front here, is completely underdeveloped. So they do not have the capacity to manipulate you through crying.
Right.
That's an old wives' tale. So when we look at baby's brain development and the science behind baby's development, it actually helps us a lot, because then we know that, okay, this is normal. This is their way of communicating. They can't manipulate, choose to try and manipulate me. They just physically don't have the capacity to do that. So it can help us understand it more, and that puts it into context. And I think, if we don't, if a lot of things get passed on through generations, because that's just how child rearing goes. You learn from your parents, and your parents learn from their parents.
Yeah.
Sometimes things get passed down that really actually are not true. And as time goes on and more scientific research gets done, all of these things we learn more and more about as time goes on. So yeah, baby cannot manipulate you, and they just don't have the brain development to do that. And also, you cannot spoil a baby by responding to their needs. So that's another one that gets passed down through generations is, if you hold your baby too much, you're going to spoil them. Or, if you go to your baby every time they cry, you're going to spoil them. That has been proven false time and time again. So the more you actually respond to your baby, the less likely they are to cry. So babies who are responded to more frequently and quickly, and who are held more often, actually cry less. So they don't cry more. Their stress levels are lower, so they're able to kind of self-regulate better, because their stress levels are lower as well. So it doesn't mean that the second your baby's crying, you have to run to them, of course. But don't ever feel guilty for holding your baby a lot or responding to their cries, because that's what they need from you. Once you get to toddler years and stuff, obviously that changes, but this is
Yeah.
for babies, for early young babies.
So we noticed actually the advice had changed. I mean, so our eldest is 11, and certainly with the first 3 children, there was that advice given to us by healthcare workers to leave them for a bit.
Yeah.
Interestingly enough, even though we were kind of like a bit old hat at this, when Reggie was coming along, we midwife said, "Look, why don't you come along to one of the baby classes?" So we actually went. I went along with my wife, and it's funny. They went around the room, and everyone's going, "I've got 1 child, and this is my first." And then they're like, "How many have you got?" "Oh, this will be our 4th." Kind of looking at us, what you're doing here, but the advice had changed. The advice was go to your baby and pick it up if they need you. So that was a big difference to us. I'm glad I went along to the course actually.
Yeah, and part of that is just through research. So just with anything, as time goes on, people research things more, and over time you have better ways of. We also think of babies. So you think of when you look at a baby and do research, you have to kind of look at it long term. So they won't know the effects of it until a bit later down the road, because you have to then see how the baby develops based on how they were treated during infancy. So that's why things take time, and sometimes people will publish a book, for example, and they have doctor in front of their name, and so they just write whatever they want or believe to be true, but there's no scientific evidence behind it. So anytime you're reading a book or getting information, it's always very important to stop and think, okay, is there scientific research behind this? Because anyone can write anything. So there's lots of thankfully we have the internet now, so you can quickly do a Google search, and then you'll have some answers there coming up.
Yeah, that's really important, isn't it? Yeah, just because you've got a doctor in front of your name, and this has been proved time and time again, it doesn't mean that they're right. And I think we need to be looking at stuff that is more research based. And it can be confusing for parents because you might like us. We went, well, hang on, that's not the advice we were given 10 years ago. This has changed now, but you've just got to accept that we moved along a bit, and the research now says this, and we accepted it. And we engage with him a lot more when he's crying. We go out there, not instantly all the time, like you said. It's and sometimes you can't. You know what? You're dealing with the other kids. You'll have to just wait a bit.
It's life, isn't it? You can't beat yourself up over not always being 100% present or there for your baby, because that's just life, and you can't always do. And it depends on your baby. Some babies are quite vocal when they're sleeping, and they might not even be awake. They could just be making some noises and kind of half in of sleep and half out of sleep and going back to sleep, or so at the end of the day as well, a parent is the expert of their baby. So people like me or health visitors or anyone else can give you guidance or advice, but at the end of the day, you're the expert of your own baby. You know your baby best. Just like adults all adults are different, all babies are different. So you also have to take everything with a grain of salt and think, does this work for us? Does this work for our family? Does this work for my baby? Because that can be a cause of stress too, trying to do all these things maybe someone recommends, but actually none of it's working for you.
Yes, indeed. Yeah, definitely. I think it's a case of sort of feeling it out yourself and learning together. We're actually just coming into the last sort of 15 minutes of the show now, believe it or not. It's been quite fun so far. So if you're watching out there, thank you for being with us. If you've got any questions, please do ask them. You're listening to the Dad of Soul Deep Dive, and you're watching as well, Creating Magical Moments with Baby. And I'm here with Brittany, and we're talking about techniques you can use to calm baby. I just want to pick up on one more thing. Sorry, I forgot to say. If you are out there and you haven't already hit the share button, please let people know we're here. It really helps. I was actually going to ask a question myself from a personal level. We've got, we're in a house now where we're outgrowing it. We're looking to move at some point, but obviously with the lockdown, that's not going to happen for the foreseeable short-term future. So we've got baby in with us, and one thing we found actually is he will go through those light sleep cycles. and probably about 4 o'clock in the morning start making some noises. In the past, when they're in a different room, maybe you can leave them, they're not disturbing you too much. But that's one thing we're finding really hard at the moment, because he starts to make a noise and then you just kind of feel that you need to do something because he's there and he's disturbing your sleep.
Yeah.
Is it a case of we should just be leaving him and getting on with it because he's getting used to us now? This is where, at 6 months old, is he starting to go, oh, hang on, mummy and daddy there, they'll come and pick me up?
I think it depends. So the type of cry. So basically, if you probably know, when your baby's crying, if they're distressed or if they're crying because they're a bit uncomfortable, or if they're just whining a bit because they're, for whatever reason. So I often say it's just a case of listening to your baby. So even though you're so tired in the middle of the night and you're just like, be quiet, is if they actually do sound upset and distressed and they're not calming down after a few minutes or so, then it's probably a case of they either, also it could just be they need a bit of a cuddle, and then they're happy to go back down again. Sometimes, you hear sad stories of people who leave their babies crying for long periods of time because that's what they were told to do. But actually, it's because the baby was crying because they were too hot or they were too cold or something like this. So, and imagine, you don't want to just ignore a baby if they're crying, because often there is a need, even if that need is a cuddle. But again, it's kind of, when they get older, it's kind of trying to assess, okay, is this I'm awake but trying to go back to sleep noise, or is this I'm in distress noise?
So yeah, it's again about tuning in, isn't it? I think I remember back to our eldest actually, and I know people's has different views on using pacifiers, but when he was a baby, we used one, and he kept spitting it out in the night, and all we were doing was going back and putting it back in, and my wife suddenly went, sod this, and just threw it away. And actually then the next night he slept through, and it was actually the loss of the dummy that was making him wake up.
Yeah, because it's funny because for some kids, like a sleep association works well, like a dummy or a teddy. But for other children, if that then suddenly they can't find it in the middle of the night, then it can actually make it harder. So it's one of those things, again, you have to see what works for your baby and doesn't, because some people would swear by having a pacifier at night or a dummy, and others would be like, nope, doesn't work for us. So yeah. Good point.
It's personal choice, isn't it, on that one? Just as we sort of get into the last 10 minutes of the show here, I mean, there was a couple of other things I don't know if we've sort of covered in full, and I'll let you sort of make a choice of which way we go with this one. So I mean, I know you also do baby yoga, and also on the course as well, we were talking about sort of sensory stuff, so we did stuff with some of the coloured cloths as well. Do you want to sort of go into that a little bit as well?
Yeah, sure. So if you have anything at home, basically you don't need a lot of toys for your baby, but some of the things that are really nice to have are musical instruments. So rattles or bells, shakers of any kind are really good. And yeah, if you can get some sort of maybe piece of light fabric or scarf, that's always really fun as well to play with. Basically, the main thing you want to focus on is when you're playing with your baby is that interaction. Sorry, I think my camera's there's a bit of a lag, but there's that interaction between the two of you. So when we add props, for example, it's not really about the prop per se. It's about how you're interacting using the prop, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So playtime a bit more fun for you and for your baby.
Yeah, I think so. And it's sometimes they can just get bored of seeing your face, actually. So you want to be able to bring some extra stuff in. You were talking a little bit earlier, actually, and Janice sort of said about using, oils on the baby. And what are some of the kind of basic, in the last sort of, 5 minutes to show some basic massage techniques we can use on baby? I mean, there's some good feet ones we can use as well, isn't there, to calm them?
Yeah. I can quickly show you a couple of ones on the feet. Those are the easiest. So the most comfortable places babies like to be massaged are their legs and their feet. So I can quickly show you a couple.
That'd be brilliant.
Come down here. All right. So one that's very simple we just take our thumbs and we work from heel to toe, thumb over thumb. So we do a nice thumb over thumb motion, heel to toe. So if you have a young baby, of course, you can do this with them lying down. But if you have an older baby who likes to sit up, you can do it how I'm doing it, with them sitting in your lap. So it's nice and simple. Another one you can do is called the thumb press. So we take our thumbs and using the pads of your thumb, there we go, we press all around the base of the foot. So there's no specific order. You're just trying to get all the different points of the foot with your thumb. And you can, whenever you do these 2 strokes, you want it to be firm but gentle. So if you're too light, it's going to tickle the foot, which is not the desired effect we want. So you need to be firm enough that it's not tickling, but not too firm that it's going to cause any discomfort. So that's another nice one. So those are 2 really easy ones that you can do. Another one you can do is on top of the foot, and you just stroke from toes to ankle. Toes to ankle. These are nice because you can do them really quickly. You can do them when they're after a nappy change or during a nappy change. You can do it before bedtime, for example. There's strokes for the entire body. So of course I can't get into all of that now, but yeah, so those are 3 ones that you can use on the foot, plus the tummy one that I demonstrated earlier is good as well for helping with digestion. And then there was something I was going.
I was just, while you're looking at that, I'd just say to everyone that is watching, I was having a go with that, with the leg up in there. This isn't a real baby, by the way. I didn't. Just in case someone saw a foot, I was doing that. Oh, Janice just said feathers are lovely too. Yeah, I mean, anything you can use for sensory.
Yeah, definitely. Babies tend to like high contrast, so like black and white in the beginning, or really bright colors or bold colors. They can just see it a bit easier, so that's nice to do. If you have, you can buy like books that are black and white and that are accordion style, so you can pull them out. So if your baby's doing tummy time, you can have that out in front of them for tummy time. I'm doing a tummy time workshop coming up.
Aha.
On Saturday. So you could do that. That's always good. And you can also do any kind of balls that have texture to them. So you might buy a ball that's a bit bumpy, or
I've got one here somewhere.
Yeah, usually I think you can buy like a pack of these balls that have different textures to them. Those are always nice as well. That's okay.
I keep treading on it.
Yeah, things with texture. Sometimes too, just giving them like wooden spoons and a plastic cup. So things that we use in our daily life that are safe for them to kind of put their mouth on, and things are also, babies love that kind of stuff. Just that everyday stuff is exciting for them too.
Yeah, I think actually, again, we got a spoon here, a wooden spoon, and he likes to stick that in his mouth, especially now his teeth, and he likes to bite down on it, and I think, what we've just got to avoid is stuff with small parts in, again, one of the boys, they were watching him, to be fair, and they were aware, but they gave him a little card to play with the other day, but I said, the wheels can easily come off of that and get stuck in his throat. So it's, it's the bigger stuff, the balls, the wooden toys, they're all great things to use, aren't they?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
You were just talking about, actually, you've got some classes coming up. So can you just let us know how we can get in contact with you, how we can find out more about what you do, and how we can come along to one of your classes?
Yeah, sure. So my website is magiclittlemoments.com, and I always have all my classes on there, and also just kind of what I'm about and what not my company, it's just me, what my business is about. And so that's all that information's on there. Then I also have my Facebook page as well, so I always put updates on my Facebook page, and then you can also find events for all my classes and workshops coming up. Some people find that easier because then you can click interested and then get a reminder if it's something you might want to check out.
Brilliant. So hopefully Chris has put that in the comments up there so that people can click on the links and go and find out a bit more. And I definitely advise going along to one of Brittany's classes. It's as a dad, it's great to learn some new techniques, and even as a dad of 3, now 4, there was certainly a lot I learned from it. So thank you very much for that.
Oh yeah, of course. I'm so glad that that it was useful and that you enjoyed it. I think as an instructor, it's nice to hear that, because you'll teach a class and people go away, but you never know if they put it into use or if it's helped. So yeah, it's really nice to hear that.
Yeah, no, that's good. I know what you mean. It's kind of like hard, isn't it? You hope that you're delivering a good class, and I did enjoy it. I think even though I spent the last part of the class, I think Reggie did a massive explosive nappy, and but it was just nice being there. You know what? And I didn't feel embarrassed about it. I just I got on with it, and everyone else was there. It wasn't me that exploded all over the floor. That would have been embarrassing.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, I've had like poo on my hand in the middle of the night and didn't realize it until I got in my bed and I was lying there. I'm like, oh, what smells of poo? And I was like, oh my God, it's my hand.
Oh no, God.
Since this has happened.
Oh God.
Everything was dark. Oh my gosh.
You have to go around the house spraying everything. Yeah. Well, brilliant. Well, thank you for joining us, Brittany. It's been a really good show. Thank you for everyone that joined in and commented. And I hope anyone that's watching back's got some useful information. If you do have any questions and you are watching this back, not on the live show, then you want to get in contact, please send us in your questions. I'm sure Brittany will be happy to answer those if we pass them on, if we can't ourselves. So, yeah, thank you for everyone watching tonight. Next week, we just got coming up at the bottom there, and we've just lost the bottom of it. Now it's coming on. Next week on the deep dive, we got fitness and wellbeing expert James Boardman. He's an author, dad of 2. He's also an ex-Royal Marine Commando PT instructor. So hopefully he won't put me through my paces live on air. So also good to point out, actually, because of his availability, that's going to be at 9 a.m. next Monday, but we will be resharing it as a watch party in the evening, so you can tune in normal time. So thanks for watching, everyone. Thanks for joining us, Brittany.
Thank you so much for having me.
That's all right, no worries. And thank you, producer Chris, for being there in the background. Let's cut the show.